So I'm here today at Banff Center for Arts and Creativity with Brian Garbet, a great composer that has composed acoustic and electroacoustic music for film, theater, and concert. Let's talk about a little bit of your background.
So I learned guitar and started playing in bands, and so that was kind of in my youth was not a lot of exposure to classical music, but mostly popular rock music, that sort of thing. This band I was in, we had a song that did quite well on rock radio, and so we had a bit of a Vancouver commercial hit. Because of the success on the radio, we got to perform with a lot of big acts, you know, like probably the biggest was playing with ZZ Top.
That probably worked a side of improvisation in you, right? Too, because usually there are lots of improvisation involved, right? Even in jazz, and you study jazz guitar.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of our, when I was in Crop Circle, a lot of our songwriting came from improvisation too. You know, we would get together and just play.
So what role would improvisation play in your compositional process?
For me, whether it's electroacoustic or acoustic, improvisation always plays a role. And I try not to repeat myself and do things that I've done before. So rather I use that as a springboard to kind of go in new directions. And learning jazz guitar, I think, kind of really freed up a lot of that, where I could, you know, see where it takes you, I guess, and being open to the moment. But really it was learning the music of Debussy and Stravinsky. And when that sort of came into the play, it was I think that was really what brought me deeper into it, and I wanted to really pursue it further. You know, it was Debussy especially. His music was really captivating for me.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that piece, because I find there's so many interesting elements in there, and also approaches that you take with the compositional process and elements that generate materials, right?
Yeah, it's this photograph, and the photograph was from World War II, and it's an image of this line of soldiers coming down this hill, and they're preparing to board a ship to be dispatched potentially overseas, and they don't even know where they're going. And the photographer captured this moment where this boy was there with his mom to see his dad off, and he broke free from his mom's grip and was running at his dad with his arms stretched out, and his mom's trying to stop him, right? You know, and the dad's kind of looking back and kind of seeing his boy come towards him, and some other soldiers are kind of smiling as they see what's transpiring here a bit. It was just a very powerful photograph, and it was taken in New Westminster in BC, and that was the city that I lived in for a long time. And so it's a very important photograph to the people there. And so with the photo, there was a lot of elements that could be used, and it was there was the different characters in the photograph. You have the mother and how she's feeling at that moment, and then the boy and his emotions, and then the dad. So you have these three different ways that it could be approached. And so I put the piece into three movements, and one for each one of those main characters. Another thing I did as well was I got a boy I know around the same age as the one in the photograph to say, "Wait for me, Daddy," and to do that in different ways. And so then I was able to analyze that and use that material as part of for the pitches and part of the musical material for the piece.
How did you use that the line of soldiers? You said it played also a role in composition.
Yeah, well, one thing that's going on in the piece is there's two different tempos in the first movement. And so basically, there's a series of snares. There's 3 snare drums, and they representing each row of the soldiers. And they start out very quiet. And throughout the whole first section, they gradually, slowly get a little bit louder throughout. So the crescendo is representing as the soldiers are coming down into the foreground of the photo. And but the other thing is that the rest of the ensemble is playing in a different tempo than the snares. So they're doing their own thing in their own time.
There's a very interesting moment in this piece too, is when some brass instruments just like hit really strong pitch, right? And inside, like pointing to the piano, right? And then everyone stops, and we have this beautiful like harmony coming from the strings of the piano, right? They're resonating.
Well, that was to have the horns, the brass, activate the strings in the piano, and so it's about the resonance in the room, and it was to bring the piano alive without the piano striking it, and so yeah, I think that was connected to the spectral side of things here. Is to deal with the resonance, and what that is doing is activating overtones based on what the piano is doing as well.
And this was a very important photograph to me, and it also was for my own father, who served in the military, obviously not in World War II, but he was stationed overseas in Germany. And my father recently passed away, and this piece is dedicated to my dad, who was he was my go-to for information on the military. And when I was doing this piece, he was the person I went to for information. He was a big help, and I'd like to dedicate this piece to obviously my relatives who served and my father. Thank you.